Hi everyone, this is another data analysis video, still focusing on data wrangling. So I'm going to demonstrate another or some other useful techniques or tricks for manipulating data and getting your data into the sort of format that you might need it in order to conduct whatever statistical analysis or data analysis you might wish to perform. And as usual, I'm using Jupyter Notebook. I'm working in Jupyter Notebook and I'm using Python and the software library Pandas. So what I'm going to do in this particular video is demonstrate how you can import data sets that might be recorded on two separate Excel files or CSV files, and how you can combine those data sets into one single pandas data frame object row wise. So in order for this to work, you would essentially need the same variables, the same features in each of the columns, but obviously for whatever reason you might have recorded data on one spreadsheet, one CSV file, and some other data on another one in relation to maybe the same study or the same experiment or something like that. So the example I'm going to use, I'm going to import some data that was recorded over a couple of years. So it's saved on different files, the files relating to which year the research was conducted. I'm going to combine it all into one big data set. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to kind of run the usual standard software imports that are useful when we're trying to manipulate data. I'm going to import pandas as PD and NumPy as NP. We're mostly going to be making use of pandas here. We probably don't really need to use NumPy for much, but I'll import it anyway because depending on what we choose to do, it might be useful to already have that imported. Okay, so what I'm going to do is build a data frame from multiple files row wise. So it's going to combine one data frame, one data set with a certain number of rows, and add a load of other rows from a second data set onto it. So the data I'm going to use for this is saved. It's obviously saved in a folder on my laptop, and it's called dissertation data 2020/2020_21.csv. So it's dissertation research data that was recorded in the academic year 2020/2021. Okay, and so that's one of the files. And then the second file is it relates to the same study, but it's data conducted the year after. So a completely different set of dissertation students collected this data. So it's dissertation data 2021_22. So two different academic years, two different CSV files. And I'm going to import each of those using the pandas pd.read_CSV. They're saved as CSV files. I mean, there is a read_Excel command or various others, but I like saving things as CSV files on my computer. And if I run that, it looks quite familiar. It maybe looks familiar from other videos I've made. So it's kind of dissertation data that was collected in relation to a public goods game. And what you can see here is it's condensed the data for it. I didn't just ask for the head, so it has kind of printed the whole data frame, but it's condensed it, so it skipped out a load of the middle rows. And you can see we've got 80 rows and 45 columns. So we've got 80 participants. We've got 79 as the index in relation to this first file, so 0. Remember, Python's 0 index, so 0 to 79. We've got 80 participants essentially. So that's the first data file. And now if I do the second one, we see a similar sort of thing. It's this got 66. So 80. The first year this ran 80 participants. The second year 66. And the variables are all the same, as if you can see by looking at that. They're all the ones that are visible on the screen. You can see they match the data, the CSV files, the kind of spreadsheet files. They have the same variables, just different participants collected over different years. So to combine these, there's some additional stuff we need to do. So if we wanted to add all the participants in the second data file to the bottom of this first data file, so we've got a much larger data file. In order to do that, what we're doing is combining them row-wise, and we need to use the built-in glob module in order to do that. So what the glob module does is it finds all the path names matching a specified pattern. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import the glob module. So the command for that is I'm saying from glob import glob. Sounds a bit weird, I guess. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a separate data frame object, and I'm going to call that dis_data. So I'm going to create a new object that is a combination of that contains both of these dissertation data frames. And what I'm doing is this new dis_data object, I'm using this sorted command, I'm using the glob module, and I'm asking the glob module to identify or to bring up all of the data sets that we've imported that start with the word dissertation. So you can see here how this is set out. I've got as a string in single quotes, I've got dissertation and then an asterisk.csv. And this is what this means is here, you remember here there's a comment that I mentioned, it finds all path names matching a specified pattern, and this is the specified pattern. We're basically saying find all path names that start with that are CSV files that start with dissertation. So if I run this cell and actually call this dis_data object, what it's going to do is list all the data frames that are available that kind of match that pattern. And you can see there's two, and those are the two that we imported. So dissertation data 2021.csv and dissertation data 21.22.csv. So it's found both of them, it's identified both of them. So glob has helped us find and create an object that contains both of these files. But what we now need to do is combine one file with the other. Okay, so we're going to combine these two files. And to do that, we're going to use the pandas pd.concat method. Okay, and we're going to pass into that as an argument a for loop essentially. And what we're saying is we're invoking the concatenate method, and then we're using the pandas .read_csv file for file in this data. So what that's saying is we want to read, we want to use pandas to read these CSV files, and the files we want it to read are each of the files in this dissertation data object. So these two CSV files, and then that's nested within pd.concat. So we're going to read them both and then combine them both, concatenate them both. So if I run that, what we should see now is we should only have one header, which is obviously comes with the column names, which comes from probably the first data file. But what you can see now is we have 146 rows and 45 columns. So the first one, if you remember, had 80 participants, 80 rows, the second 66 rows. And they've now been combined row-wise, so we've now got 146 rows. One thing to note though is where we've kind of concatenated these two things together, it hasn't reset the index. So you can see here, it's obviously condensed this data frame. It's not printed out all 146 rows, but you can see it starts at 0 and the very last value is 65, not 145. So what we might wish to do is what it has done here is it's kept the original index. So 0 to 80 for the first data file, and 0 to 65 for the second, or 0 to 79 for the first data file. But we might basically want to reset that index so it runs from 0 to 145. And in order to do that, we can reset the index by running the same command as we just did above, but adding this extra parameter to ignore the index. So here you can see this is the same line as the previous cell where we imported both the files and then we combined both the files. So the searched through both the files and imported them and then combined them. But we've added after this comma an additional parameter, additional argument here saying ignore underscore index equals true. So it's telling Python or pandas to ignore the index. Okay, so if we look at that now, what we can see is we've still got the same data frame, 146 rows, 45 columns, but now the index runs from 0 to 145. Okay, it doesn't run from 0 to 79 and then 0 to 65. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's all I was going to demonstrate here. You can see it. So you can see if you have data spread over two spreadsheets that relates to the same variables, the same experiment, the same study, you can combine them into a single pandas data frame object by using the glob module to find the data frames or the CSV files of interest, and then using this pandas concatenate method to join them together. Okay, that's enough for this recording, I think.